Well, thank you for coming. I want to thank you and also welcome you to this event. First of all, I want to express my thanks to Dr. Weems because she organized this conference for you using grant money. We're on our third year of this grant and the success is tremendous. We're very happy with things that are happening, the way entrepreneurship and also financial matters are getting weaved into the curriculum. And this is one good example of all the things you're going to learn today. See, the title of this particular event is Money Matters, and that's important because we all know that especially for your future, your milestones in life depend on careful financial planning. Depending on what age you are, you might be thinking about maybe eventually buying your first home, or you're a little later down the road. You have children, well, you need to think about the education of your children. All those goals are achievable if you have a plan and you have the discipline to follow that plan. And that's the reason that our distinguished guests here are going to help you with that. So we have a good panelist here. We have Nancy Bennett, we got Barry Whitaker, and then we also have our keynote speaker, Dr. Craig Mason. So they have a full morning full of good activities and also things for you to remember and take with you because you came here for a reason, to find a career for a better life and also to understand the importance of lifelong learning. So I congratulate you for coming here today, and then I'm gonna step aside and then let the morning start. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Good morning again. Glad to see all of you out here on this beautiful Monday morning. You are going to walk away with knowledge that you did not have when you showed up this morning, that will stick with you the remainder of your career and your life. As someone nearing retirement, you think you get to a certain place, you don't have to worry about money anymore. Yeah, nope. That's not the case. We always have to think about our financial means. So we have got to put together three amazing people, starting with Dr. Constance to speak to you today. And I'll introduce the other panelists after Dr. Constance finishes speaking. But I'm Teresa Rand, and I help operate this entrepreneurial education and training grant that Dr. Weems miraculously gets every single year. Dr. Weems will be here to do our closing. She had another commitment earlier today. But we also have Dee Gay out here, who is our lead faculty for the EMO initiative. Many of you have this in your curriculums now. If you don't, you can still be part of the entrepreneurial process and education and initiative. Just talk to me afterwards, because we're going to have lots of speakers throughout this year, this semester, and you're always invited to hear the speakers, whether you're in a class that honors the curriculum right now or not. So with that, I am going to introduce Dr. Mason, and then I'll be back later to talk to you about a few things, primarily, Diana, if you'll raise your hand over there. And everybody to make sure to see Diana if you're a student, and grab a flyer on the Falcon Talks. Some of you spoke last year. I see a few faces in here, but the Falcon Talks are coming up in April, and we already have about 5 students registered to speak. You'll get training to speak. Yes, it's nerve-wracking to speak in public, but it's a good trait for you to have, a good skill for you to learn. So more on that later. But I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker now. Dr. Constance Craig Mason is the CEO of Concierge Financial Advisory and the president of Money Concepts Wealth Management and Financial Planning. As a dedicated financial advisor, award-winning insurance broker, passionate international speaker, and an 8-time best-selling author, she teaches her clients to correctly manage their money so they can live the life they want without worrying about money. You have one of her books at your seat. If you sat in the back, there were no books, so feel free to move up to the front to get one of her books. So without further ado, Dr. Constance, welcome.
Do you think you have what it takes? Are you going to give up, or have you got some fight left in you? Your mindset is everything. Your mindset will determine if you will make it or not. Your mindset will determine if you will be remembered or forgotten. Your mindset will determine whether you will be committed to achieving your goals when things get tough, as we all know they will, because no human goes through life without huge challenges. Your mindset is everything. There is no greater asset than yourself, your own mind. Every day you are given many choices. Take the easy road or the road uphill that leads to success. The uphill track is challenging, yes. It is tough. It will push you to your limits. But in pushing you to your limits, you will also find if you only show your courage, it will push you past your perceived limitations to growth and success.
Good morning. Good morning. Clap it up for yourself. I know it's Monday. Listen, this is not the Monday blues. We just had the race, okay? We're all here together, healthy, and want to learn and grow. Is that correct? So give it up for the faculty, for Dr. Weems, for Ms. Rand, for putting this together for you, this amazing program. I'm so blessed that I was able to learn about it, that I was able to grab a hold of the book, right? The awesome book. And listen, you guys got me over here from the East Coast. It's 40-something degrees, okay? It's cold. So I was super excited to come here and catch some of this awesome weather. So thank you for the invite. And I want to talk with you today about 3 keys to unlocking financial success for life. 3 keys to unlocking your financial success for life. Because as you may have learned from reading the awesome book, Who Owns the Ice House, you can see that there were 8 life lessons, right? Not just for entrepreneurship, but life lessons. So if you're here and you enjoyed the book, you read it and enjoyed it, let me see your hands. Okay. I know I thoroughly enjoyed reading about Uncle Cleve and all of his triumphs and trials, because that's what happens in entrepreneurship. So we're here to honor and celebrate those who thought it worthy enough to share this man's story and to bring it to our attention. So I just wanted to clap it up for the faculty who thought it not robbery to share that with us. So I wanted to just share that. And thank you for the bio, Teresa. But 14 years of being in entrepreneurship in the financial services business, as we know, right? Finances can be up and down, right? It hits us in the best ways and the worst ways sometimes. But 14 years of entrepreneurship was not easy for me. It definitely hasn't been an upward trajectory the entire time. But I want to just share that just like Uncle Cleve, he talked about being an unlikely entrepreneur. I am an unlikely entrepreneur. See, I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore, Maryland. Anybody familiar with Baltimore? So listen, I know y'all in the back. I don't bite. So I'm from Baltimore, but I don't bite. Come on up. But I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore, Maryland, to a young single mom. So my mom was 17 years old and she had 2 baby girls. Anybody ever heard children raising children? As a teenager, what could my mom share with us at 15 and 17 when she had my sister and I? But one thing she always would impress upon us, she would say, be better than me, go farther than me, reach for the heights. And I was like, Mom, what's better than you, right? Because I love my mom dearly. But I get it now as an adult. She was trying to tell us to not be stuck and stagnant. She wanted us to grow outside of those 4 walls that we had in the inner city of Baltimore. She wanted us to be able to explore and be lifetime learners even. And so now that I'm an adult and I realize how important it is to, as Uncle Cleve says, fill up your head, I realize how important that is, because that is what helps you to grow in your life, is when you continue to learn and grow and you're eager and you're excited about learning new things and meeting new people. And so I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore in poverty. We witnessed domestic violence. We witnessed mental health challenges, all kinds of toxic, as they say today, toxic things. And no diss to my mom, because again, she was learning and growing as a young adult, as a young wife, as a young mom. And when she shared with us that we could be more than what we had seen,
I embraced that. You know, I was someone who was always, again, like Uncle Cleve, very curious, very observant. You know, I would sit in the room and watch people's mannerisms and the conversations that they would have, and I would learn from other people's experiences. And so being curious and observant, always self-directed because I wanted more for my life. I didn't want to just stay from where I grew up. I wanted to learn and grow. And I think about the true value of knowledge, which is one of the lessons there. I think about how important it is to be a life learner. And that kind of brings me into my first key. So again, we're going to have 3 keys today on how to unlock financial success. So my first key is invest in you. Somebody say invest in you. Invest in you. Say it like you mean it. Invest in you. Thank you, thank you. So invest in you. That is one of the things that I was able to make a connection when I read the literature. Uncle Cleve was able to make the connection between knowledge, action, and life's experiences. Knowledge, effort, and life's experiences. And so when I think about my own journey, before I ever had any money to invest in anything, I invested in myself. And how did I do that? Well, Google came out when I just finished high school. I'm dating myself. Okay. And I started Googling any basic need, any financial concept that I hadn't seen and I didn't know. Even the basic things like how to get an apartment, how to get a driver's license, how to get a bank account, how to get a credit card, basic things that many families were already indulging in, but I had no idea because it was not modeled before me in my home. And so I started using Google or Google University as a way to learn information and apply it to my life. And so once I started learning and applying those things to my life, I started to see change. I started to see growth. I started to feel more confident about being a young adult. And even though they say that, you know, there's generational curses and things that people sometimes repeat, I did not want to be a young single mom, but I ended up being a young single mom, just like my mother. And by the time I was 21, I had 3 little babies. My mom had 2 by the time she was 17. And what I learned from her was to be independent, to be responsible, to seek out knowledge and do the things that you want to do for yourself and your children. And so when I started Googling things, I was like, okay, I want an apartment. I want good credit. I want to have money or savings. And so that was my first time investing in myself, but I invested time because I had no money. Okay, I had no money, but I was investing time into learning and growing. And then once I did start getting some money, maybe tax returns, you know, that kind of thing, I would invest in workshops and seminars and classes just to learn and grow how to start a business. I learned through workshops, seminars, how to buy my first home, learned through workshops, seminars. And so when I say invest in you, yes, it is a time element. You being here with us is a time investment. We appreciate that. You spending money to come to college, that is a financial investment as well as your time. So we appreciate you being able to show that you're not just talking a good game. You're actually doing the things. You're showing up for yourself and you're showing up for your community because whatever you're learning, we want you to apply. We want you to do it out in the world. And so I think about being invested in myself, Googling things that I didn't understand. And like I said, Uncle Cleve said, fill your head up. And so I started doing that and seeing results. I actually have a quote that I coined that says, you are the greatest, most valuable commodity ever. You are the most greatest, valuable commodity ever. Does anybody know what a commodity is? Raise your hand. A commodity. I know you know what it is, Barry. Anyone brave enough to call it out? Yes?
Basically, like you're people need you, like access. Benevolence.
What did you say?
Benevolence.
Benevolence? I'm going to take one more. You were close. One more. Commodity. I'll give you a hint. In the investment world, You know what a commodity is? What is it? Think about like precious jewels, oil, right? Things like that. So a commodity is something that is highly sought after, but in short supply. Think about it. Highly sought after, but in short supply. So when I say that you are the greatest, most valuable commodity, what I'm saying is you are highly valued, but in short supply, meaning that as long as you continue to invest in yourself and grow in knowledge and experiences, you will be highly sought after by employers, right? You will be highly sought after in the community, and you get to choose where you invest your time and efforts, right? You have options in life when you invest in yourself. So think of yourself as a hot commodity, okay? Somebody say hot commodity. Hot commodity. You don't sound like a hot commodity now. If I was a hot commodity, I would be yelling it from the rooftop. So Dr. Les Brown also has a quote that says, invest in yourself so that you become so good that you'll be impossible to be ignored. Invest in yourself so that you become so good that you'll be impossible to be ignored. So have you ever had an opportunity and you were thinking about doing it and maybe you were a little bit scared, trepidatious, you had a little fear about it, maybe it was your first experience doing it? Well, that's my second key. I want you to fear less. That does not mean that you won't ever be afraid. What it means is when you feel that, I want you to do it anyway, right? Because the more you do something, the more comfortable you get with it, right? And that fear becomes less and less. You ever heard the term or the phrase, knowledge is power? I've heard it my whole life. Knowledge is power. I like to impress upon you that applied knowledge is power. Because what sense is it to fill your head up and then not do anything with it, right? We know that entrepreneurs are action-oriented. Did we not read that in the information in the book? That entrepreneurs are action-oriented visionaries, if you may. So they see the big picture, but they don't just stop there. They take action in the things that it is that they want to do. So when I think about, or maybe you have had some fear when you first came to campus, maybe to start your career in higher education. Maybe you were a little afraid when you saw Freddie the Falcon, because that's a big bird, is it not? It's a big bird. I don't even like any birds, but fear is a real emotion, and sometimes it can stop us in our tracks from moving forward. So I want to impress upon you that as you're getting knowledge, as you're investing in yourself with time, money, everything, to take the opportunity to kick fear in the teeth. Feel it, palms sweating, armpits sweaty, your brows sweating, but do it anyway. Somebody say, do it anyway. Awesome. So that brings me to my third key, which is bounce back. Can you say bounce back? Bounce back. Listen, I understand, especially after 14 years of being an entrepreneur, that life happens to the best of us, to all of us. And entrepreneurship is not an upward trajectory the entire time. You do have these valley moments. You do have these moments where it's not all fun and games. You know, clients aren't plentiful all the time. You know, sometimes you have customer service matters to deal with. But Clifton Talbot said, your will to succeed remains one of your greatest assets. Your willpower to succeed remains one of your greatest assets. So who can share with me one of the lessons from the 8 that means don't give up? Which one of those 8 means don't give up? And I have a gift for you if you get it right. So don't be shy. Call it out. Hey, come get it, come get it, come get it. I got a gift for you. Clap it up for our sister. Woo-hoo. Great job. Thank you so much for participating. Congratulations. See, now y'all want to answer questions because y'all didn't know I had gifts back here. Listen, I have one more gift back here. So, like I said, don't give up. There it goes. Don't give up relates to perseverance. But my sister and I call ourselves the resilient sisters because when life hits us, we bounce back. It's not easy, but I'll share with you 2 quick stories. Back in 2009, right after I had started my financial services business, I was also working full-time in healthcare. So I worked in medical practices and I was a practice manager. And my girlfriend had chased me for 7 years telling me to get into financial services because I had been learning and growing professionally, personally. And she was like, you tell people about these financial concepts that you learn anyway. You're telling people on the bus stop, you're telling people at the church, like you're telling people, why don't you do it for a living? And I was like, nah, I have small kids. I just have daycare for 8 to 5. I can't do anything extra. So long story short, she chased me for almost 7 years. And so when she caught up with me, I was married. So I didn't have an excuse anymore because I had help. And so I was working full-time in healthcare, and then I was doing my financial services business in the evenings and weekends. Now that was a long day, okay? 8 to 5 in healthcare, and then probably about 6 to 9 sitting with clients across the kitchen table, teaching them how money works, teaching them about insurance and things of that. And so I started making really good income part-time, and I said to my husband, I said, I absolutely love what I'm doing. If I had more time to do it, what do you think? And he was like all about financial security. He was like, don't just jump out here and do this entrepreneurship stuff. We got every 2-week paycheck coming in here. And so he was like, if you can replace your income, by all means, go for it. So 6 months, I had replaced my full-time income and I was full out entrepreneurship, all right? So clap it up for that, clap it up. I was intentional. So I get into the business, I'm doing really well, I'm super excited, I'm traveling, setting my own schedule and everything. And then the market crashed. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the market crashed. Ran through our savings, ran through, clients weren't taking appointments because they were cutting back and they were reprioritizing things. And so we end up having to file bankruptcy. Yep. Ran through the savings, clients dried up, and here I was running around telling people, hey, be financially independent. And we had to file bankruptcy, right? And so I carried the shame of that, not just in my profession, but because I had made a promise to my family. I had even told my husband that I was going to retire him, Barry. Now, mind you, he's the head of the household, had been in his career for many years, but I just knew that what I was doing was going to set us all free. And so I was like, give me about a year and I'm gonna retire you, baby. He was like, okay, okay. And so I carried that shame about letting my family down, not being able to hold up my end of the bargain as a financial professional. And I'll tell you, a lot of financial professionals won't even tell you about their challenges, right? They're not authentic about it. They hide it. There's no shame in my game because I like to tell people that I've probably been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. So there's no reason for you to hold anything back because, again, why do that? You can't grow if you're not authentic. And so that was a story that I had to bounce back from. But then I had another one a few years ago, Nancy, where I turned 40 years old, was super excited. I had a grandchild on the way, business was fine. And then all of a sudden, my mental crashed, my health crashed, and for 2 years straight, I had a bunch of respiratory issues, multiple pneumonias, lung surgery, just out of nowhere, guys, nowhere. And so this was a moment where I had to realize that health is wealth. Somebody say health is wealth. That's the lesson that I learned out of that experience. Because what sense is it having all this money, thriving business, assets, and you can't even breathe? Can't even get out of the bed. The lesson that I learned from that 2009, 2010 bankruptcy situation was have multiple streams of income. Somebody say multiple streams. Multiple streams of income and a healthy emergency savings. So we ran through our savings, but I didn't see that as a loss. I saw it as a lesson. So now I'm super passionate when I'm sitting down with clients because I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, right? So I shared that with you because I was not able to pick myself up, dust myself off alone. It took a village. So that is my bonus key, which is collaborate, which is very similar to community, another lesson. When I think back to the pandemic and how frustrated people were and this literal virus, a fatal virus that none of us had ever experienced in that way, had everything that we had known up in the air. Were we gonna be able to continue our businesses? Were we gonna be able to see our loved ones? Were we able to go to the doctor like we used to? If our employers shut the door, now what? Unemployment was in every state very frustrating for people. The government, the House of Representatives and the Senate, and they were arguing with the president. It was a mess. Y'all remember that time? It was a hot mess. And when I think about that, my husband and I didn't want to be a part of the murmuring and the complaining. We wanted to be a part of the solution. And so we gathered together 36 co-author couples, and they were able to share their stories with us in a book project that was all about how they navigated love, money, and entrepreneurship, and then add the pandemic on top of it. And why we came together was because we wanted to inspire and uplift and encourage and equip entrepreneurs who are out there thinking about shutting their doors, not knowing if they'd be able to continue. And we wanted to show, yes, there are people still thriving, pivoting, doing what it takes to stay in business and to help the community. And so both of those books, we had a volume 1 in 2021 and a volume 2 in 2022. And thankfully, both of those books went to Amazon bestseller. Clap it up for that. Woo-hoo. And I bring that up not to boast at all, but to just show the power of collaboration and community, intentionality, being actionable. We launched those book projects during a 9-day virtual conference. Somebody say 9 days. What were we thinking about? That was a lot of work. However, it was free to anyone who wanted to join. We had panels, 168 subject matter experts that we had found on social media. We covered topics of finance, relationships, spirituality, social justice. I mean, entrepreneurship, the list goes on and on. Why? As a give back during the pandemic for people to learn and grow and not feel alone and have community and have a voice. But again, it took a community to come together and say, I'm going to be a part of the solution. I'm not going to just sit by and idly complain about what someone else has to do or needs to do. And so when I think about bouncing back from our financial challenges, bouncing back from my healthcare challenges, and even when the pandemic hit and everyone was so uncertain about what the next looked like, we decided to get some people together in community and collaboration. So when I think about why I'm here before you, there's an African proverb that I absolutely love, and it goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. And that's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we do on a daily basis. And then there's an old quote from Ben Franklin that goes, when you do well, you do good. You do well by doing good for others. So when I think about the entrepreneurship mindset, it is those who embrace solutions, right? Solutions is the true currency of an entrepreneurship mindset. Because if there's a need, you fill it as an entrepreneur, right? If there's a need, you fill it. So you provide a solution for a problem. That's capitalism, right? That's how you make money. I think about the challenge that we have in this world. Some people don't want to be a part of the solution. They just want to complain. And that's not me, but that's some people. They like being in a funk for some odd reason. But you all are here on a Monday, learning and growing and wanting to talk about money and wanting to talk about entrepreneurship and growth and thinking about your life. And so I have a pop quiz. So if someone can share with me all 3 keys that were up on the board, I have a gift for you. So you have to give me 1, 2, and 3. The bonus is already up there. So if someone calls it out, I have a gift.
Go ahead. Invest in yourself, fearless, and all that.
Yes, come on up. Well, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Come on now. Congratulations. Enjoy. We got winners in the house. We got winners in the house. So, my challenge to you is to go beyond your limits. Seize every opportunity to grow. Here at the school, out in the community, within your family, seize every opportunity to grow. And it doesn't mean it's going to feel good, especially if it's new, but do it anyway. You have your free gift, your Courageous Enough to Launch book. Dr. Cheryl Wood is a mentor of mine. She put together this visionary book called Courageous Enough to Launch with myself and 40 other entrepreneurs. And we shared our stories in this book about the strategies and the fearlessness that it took to be able to start and grow our businesses. So much like the opportunities that you have here at the ERC, you meet and talk with entrepreneurs in the local community. They share with you the real deal about what it takes to grow and sustain yourself. But here's some more stories that you can fill your head up with. Fill your head. And so if you're in the back and you don't have a book, we have a few up here. So that's our gift to you. So please take that opportunity to read more so you know what you're getting yourself into and you know how to sustain in challenging times and you can uplift and be inspired. Here's your homework. I love giving homework. So what you'll see over on the far side is a campaign that's coming up, americasaves.org. And every year they have a 1-week campaign where they encourage families and business owners to save money. I saw an alarming statistic for, I think it was a report last month from bankrate.com. And it said that 57% of adult Americans did not have $1,000 in emergency savings. 57% of adult Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency. And so when we think about that, America Saves wants you to be intentional. They want you to be actionable and accountable. So if you would bear with me just for 1 second before I step down, I want you to get in your mind some goal that you have, any goal, personal, professional, in business, some goal. If it has money attached to it, meaning it's going to cost you something to do it, have it, experience it. Close your eyes and think about that goal and that amount of money that you need. You got it? Now, I want you to think about scanning that QR code up above, or it's in that blue bag in your chair. And when you scan that code, it's going to allow you to name that goal. It's going to allow you to give it an amount of money, 500, 200, whatever, and a date. So now we've taken this goal and we've made it a task. Somebody say task. Because when you have a task, now it can be actionable. You can check things off. You can be, saved towards it. You can tell someone else and they can help you be accountable to it. So your homework is to figure that goal out, name it, put an amount of money beside it, and give it a date. So the campaign actually starts on the 27th, but you can make your pledge today. You can commit to doing something different today. And the other one here is, if you'd like me to come back, my smiling face, if you'd like me to come back and do any other talks here for the EMO initiative, you can scan that and fill out a survey, which lets us know what your ahas were today. It also lets us know what else you want to learn in the future, so you can put that down. You can remain anonymous if you'd like, but it is also in your blue bag. So you don't have to do it now as we can move forward with the program, but that's your homework, to let us know what your ahas were, what you want to learn next, and to also make your goal a task. Thank you so much for the time. Bless you all and be safe.
So much. Thank you. You're going to have a seat over there. And I'll call these others up.
Okay.
Barry, you may have to bring your own chair. I realize there's 2 chairs here. So let's give Dr. Constance another round of applause. Dr. Constance, what was your quote? The commodity, I am a hot commodity. Is that what?
Commodity, but I am the greatest, most valuable commodity ever.
All right, let's all say that together. That was a quote worth writing down if you haven't already. I am the greatest, most valuable commodity ever. So if you didn't, hot commodity. Ever, right. Thank you, Leslie. And before I bring up our other panelists, I want to do something I should have done at the beginning, and I apologize, but we have 2 sponsors for today's event, and both of them have tables out here. One is the Small Business Development Center at Daytona State. If you are not familiar with all the offerings of the Small Business Development Center, please stop by the table. I believe Julie is out there. And then we have the African American Entrepreneurs Association, Leslie, right here, and Leslie's going to chat with us in a few minutes. I'm going to actually let you talk about the gift to give away. He has a gift for you today for participating, possibly, in our panel. But I'm going to bring our panel, thank you, Scott. I'm going to bring our panelists up. One of the key notes, the bonus note, I think, that Dr. Constance gave us was collaboration. And projects like this don't happen without collaboration. We obviously had Dr. Constance as our keynote speaker, but we did want to have a panel, and I was able to reach out to 2 friends of mine that have financial backgrounds and say, hey, how would you like to be part of this panel? They both immediately said yes, even though it is a day off for at least one of them, maybe both of them, but they didn't even hesitate, and that's what it takes. So they're giving back to their community. And the first one is Nancy Benet. And I'm going to read their short bio because you're going to learn more about them. Nancy is a family-oriented business owner with a passion for facilitating business success. An entrepreneur at heart, Nancy started her first business as a college student, which ignited a spark to one day run her own accounting practice. Through her more than 20 years of accounting experience, Nancy has been among few recognized for their expertise in tax resolution. So Nancy, if you'll join us on stage. Thank you. And then next we have Barry Whitaker. Barry is a financial advisor and chartered retirement planning counselor with Truist Investment Services. He offers clients more than 15 years of financial services, retirement planning, and investment management experience. So Barry. So Leslie, will you join me up here for just a moment? So I have a couple of questions to start the conversation among the panelists, but we really want to have your questions answered. This isn't for me to ask all the questions. I know you have a burning question about starting a business, managing money, any of the topics that Dr. Constance talked about, and to encourage you to ask those questions. Leslie, who is here with the AAEA, I don't know why I have so much trouble getting those letters out. There's 3 of them are the same, right? But Leslie is here representing that organization, so he's going to tell you what gift he has.
Right. So this gift is going to be for the student that asks, engages, and I would say the best question, would I say? Most interesting question to the panelists. And what we would like to do for that person is give them a free student membership, because most likely you're a student. We will actually register a company that you ever inspire or aspired to start. You know, sometimes a lot of us have this dreams of starting a business, and it's just getting over that hump and actually to getting it done. Mm-hmm. We will actually do that for you, and we will give you 1-year coaching. So we will register that business for you. We will allow you to be a member, have access to all of our resources. Our office is right here at the airport. And we have a ton of information outside when you're on your way out. Please gather for those who do not win this prize. So yes, we're really excited to be a part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. So that's an opportunity to collaborate and to invest in yourself, right, Dr.
Yes.
Constance? That covers both. And also to be fearless, I would say it covers that, because I know standing up with a microphone sometimes can bring fear in people. So it's not that difficult. Just step out of your comfort zone and do it. But I'm going to start today by asking Barry and Nancy to take one of the keys that Dr. Constance talked about: invest in yourself, fearless, bounce back, or collaborate. And just tell us a little, well, you know what, before I do that, I want you to take a minute and tell us a little more about yourself than what I said in the bio. Then we'll go to the question.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
There it goes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Nancy, and the first thing I want to do is say congratulations for being here. You have really taken a step in the right direction for your future, and so I'm really proud of all of you for showing up this Monday morning. A little about me: it's easy to look at me up here and go, wow, she's lucky. But the truth of the matter is that I was just like you. I was a student at one time, a very poor student. I started my first business during that time, and it was a miserable failure because I had no community. I did not have any idea what I was doing, no mentoring, no education. That was before Google. So you guys are lucky. You've got a lot more resources than I had. Anyway, I started a whole bunch of businesses. The first failure was just the first of 5 failures, because I didn't have any mentorship and no community and no resources like what you have. Or at least I didn't know that I had them. I didn't reach out to find them. And so I just wallowed by myself, trying to do everything myself and not really knowing what I was doing. So I found myself a single mother with 4 small children, $100 a week child support, no job, and $650,000 in debt. It was a very low time. But I did find a job working for this guy that had a small tax practice, and he let me help him through tax season. And during tax season, he had a medical event and ended up in the hospital, so I kind of handled things. And afterwards, when he recovered, he asked me if I wanted to buy his business. Well, of course I didn't after 5 failures. You really don't want to do that. But I didn't have any other choices, so I said yes, and I started working with him. And pretty soon got pretty comfortable with it, and I signed a lease on a building, a 3-year lease. The day after I signed the lease, he backed out of the deal and gave the business to his daughter, leaving me with a big lease payment, no clients, 4 small children, $100 a week in child support, and $650,000 in debt. So I crawled under my desk and cried a little while, but you can't stay there forever. You have to get up and do something. And that was the start of my incredible journey of entrepreneurship. And so here I am to help you. It's become my mission in life to help other people get started, whether it's just having a successful life as an employee or having a successful business. I am passionate to make sure that you all have the resources that you need to do that properly without all the pain and agony that I went through. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nancy. Barry?
Test.
There you go.
All right. Hey, I'm on. Hey, good morning, everyone. Give yourself a hand. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you being here today. I heard a guy once say, I wake up motivated. Try to help somebody, inspire somebody. As a young kid, Tallahassee, Florida, Floridian, I wake up motivated. Sometimes my fiance said, bring it down a notch. I can't bring it down a notch. I was born this way. So my story is, as a young male growing up in Tallahassee, Florida, grew up just like you. I mean, there's a school here in town, Campbell Middle School, Terry T. Elementary School, what we call our inner city schools. Well, I grew up in schools like that in Tallahassee, Florida. I was that kid, and wasn't a privileged kid. Had a mom and dad who worked every day and had 9 other siblings. Can you imagine? Who here has 9 other siblings in their family?
There's one there.
Unique. We're unique. So 9 other siblings. I know what it's like to, everybody sit at the table and you have grits and eggs and you have to eat all your food and you say, I want a new pair of pants. And mom said, your big brother, give him your pair of pants. That's your new pair of pants. And you go, I want my own pants. She said, boy, put those pants on and go to school.
Right.
But it was about learning and education. And we had love in our family. Grew up in a nice Christian family. And just sheer love in our family. Always had someone to play with. And as I grew up, I did not know what I wanted to do in life. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just wanted to play and run the streets and hang out. So after high school, I took 6 months off and I told my parents, hey, I'm the last one at home. Take 6 months off. I don't know what I'm going to do. My dad said, you got 6 months. So after 6 months, went to the junior college, 2 years, came home one day after lunch and said, I'm joining the Air Force. My mom said, you've got to be out of your mind. My dad said, son, I raised you well. You can stand on your own 10 toes, join the Air Force, make yourself a good living. I joined the Air Force 20 years later as an aviation manager, went back to school, non-traditional education, finished my degree, and decided, what has happened in my life to make me want to do my dream job? And one thing I could think about was, say, $10,000. $10,000. Somebody say it. $10,000.
$10,000.
$10,000. To me, young African-American male growing up with a whole lot of nothing but just love, $10,000 was a lot of money. A lot of money. And my wife at the time, we gave this $10,000 to someone to invest for us. And they took our $10,000, never called us back, couldn't get a hold of them, paid them a 5% commission, and we thought, what's going on with our money? We didn't know anything about investing, didn't know anything about the market. We just knew we gave them $10,000 and what was next. Well, as we started losing money, my wife said, you need to figure this out. So I figured it out. I started learning how to manage portfolios, build portfolios, found the company, called them up, cashed it out, got our monies back. It was less than $10,000. And I told myself, I said, when I retire from the Air Force, that's my dream job. I said, what do I want to do? I said, I want to help people who need help, not do-it-yourselfers like on TV, DIY, whatever it is, but people who need help in some form of expertise to manage their finances, build wealth, and transition to the beneficiaries, whatever case may be. So that's what I do today. Started a small company called, a large company called Merrill Lynch. I always say small company. And now today at Truist Investments. And I enjoy what I do. I love, this is a give back for me. Just like Teresa and I, we were talking today. It's a day off. It's never a day off.
Right.
It's never a day off. When I started in this business, I took 3 years of building a business, no vacation, no time. My vacation time was a 3-day weekend. That was a vacation for 3 years. There were so many times I wanted to quit and give up, but I just decided to persist and persist and persist because I had a retirement plan from the Air Force. And I told myself, with that benefit, I can take risks, fearless. That was the most scariest thing at 40 years old that I could ever do in my life. At 40 years old, I started a business and I was terrified. The first thing I thought about was, I have a family to support. What if I don't make it?
Yeah.
What if I fail? What if I, we had hard times, but fearless. We continued and continued, persistence, built a community network, collaborated with people, and am I successful today? We can call it successful. Success is whatever you deem it to be, whatever your definition of success is. But I was afraid, but somehow through family, God, community, I'm here today to say, you have a bright future.
Awesome. All right. So before I ask another question, let's see who has questions out there. Remember, we have our judge over here for our most interesting question. So who has a question for one of the panelists? Over here and then back there.
What was the tipping point that got you to finally start your business? This is for all three of you. I know there was some point you had to have hit that gave you that inspiration to finally take the leap.
And I'm going to repeat the question so everybody can hear it. What was the tipping point for you to finally start your own business? Is that good? Dr. Constance, you want to start?
So for me, I had been working, in the healthcare field pretty much 8 to 5 every day. I never had any extra money left over. I was tired. I was coming home giving my young children at the time the worst of me because I was frustrated. And when my girlfriend had been chasing me about doing the financial services business, I already knew that I loved helping people with their money. I just couldn't figure out how I was supposed to manage the time around it. And so that's why I was super excited, and I got licensed in 2 weeks of starting it. I was like, I am not playing. What is the pre-licensing course? How fast can I get it done? Like, I grilled her with 19 questions. And I did. I got licensed early, started helping families right away. And then I could see that, like, oh, I could leave my job, but I didn't want to just jump out and do it. And so that's why I asked my husband, like, when do you think it would be a good time to just go full out? And he was like, replace the income first, please. And then, I could do it. But it was really, I wasn't happy with my life. It was just like a hamster wheel. And I knew I could do more and I could have more impact, but I just wasn't seeing it every day.
Great. Nancy?
So I think I was born an entrepreneur. I have wanted to have my own business from the day I was born. I remember thinking about it and dreaming about it. I became an accountant because one of my mom's friends had a nice lifestyle and he was a CPA. So I said, I'm going to do that because I wanted that nice lifestyle. My parents were poor. I did not want to live like that. So that's what led me to start my first business when I was in college. But again, the business, you have to have that collaboration with other people. You have to educate yourself. And I thought, well, I'm at business school. I know what I'm doing. That was so far from the truth. I hope nobody else makes that mistake because learning is a lifelong occupation. You have to keep going. You have to continue learning every single day. And I still, to this day, learn more and more and more about business, about people, about how to handle certain situations. So for me, it was from the beginning, but when you failed so many times, it really beats you down. So when it came time to doing the accounting firm business, and that guy wanted me to buy his firm, I did not want to do that. I had sworn off of entrepreneurship. But the truth is, when you're born an entrepreneur, you can't stop. And at that time, I had nothing else to quit too. So I kept on going, but I wouldn't have done that voluntarily at that point in my life. I was just forced into it with circumstances. It was a recession. It was that time of life that was so hard for many of us. I know there were a lot of people that made a lot of money during that time, though. So, you know, we have a recession that's looming potentially, but know that that doesn't mean the end. It doesn't mean you have to be poor through that recession, because so many people can make a lot of money through a recession if you just do things right and use your brain in a creative way to fill a need.
Makes sense.
Barry, I'm going to switch the question up a little bit for you because you do work for Truist. What is it about your mindset of thinking like an owner, because you're representing a company in what you do every day? So how do you think about, number one, do you think about an owner? I know you, so I know you do, but why is that important when you're working for, because not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, nor should everybody be an entrepreneur. So what is that mindset? How would you define that?
Okay, great question. Glad you asked. The mindset of being an owner every day is, when I wake up in the morning, I know I work under the umbrella of Truist Investment Services, the bank. But I'm an individual business owner, so no one motivates me to come to work every day. I have to wake up every day knowing that I have clients who depend on me, clients who I'm responsible to, having a securities exchange license, buying you to different legal circumstances if you don't do something right or proper. So the mindset, and I hope I'm speaking to the question properly, but the mindset is spoken to as, I have to do this, and I'm not doing it just for the company, I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for me because this is what I choose to do. It affords me a lifestyle of financial freedom, the lifestyle that I want. It has so many benefits to it, but when you look at it on a more deeper level, it's your business, it's your mantra. It's what do you choose to do every day you wake up? What is your reputation? What is your brand? So just like my brand is my smile. You know, people say, you smile all the time. Well, you know what? I could frown too, but it's a choice. So I choose to smile every day, represents my clients well, and it gives me, I'm passionate about what I do because I love to see the results from my clients when I know that I'm making a difference. I mean, they walk in and they say, you know, just retired, there's $800,000 in my 401k. I have no idea what to do with it. Can you help me? I'm in the helping business. I get compensated well for it, but I don't look at that compensation. I look at it as I am helping someone. So compensation is last, because it's just like a paradigm. I mean, once you reach that pinnacle of making the income you want to make and the financial freedom you want to have, you say, okay, I've arrived. No, you haven't. You have to find a deeper goal. So hope I spoke to that.
That's great. We had a student back here with a question. Scott's going to bring you a microphone. It's the same question. Good job.
It's a different question.
No, work through your fear and ask the same question with or without a microphone.
Okay. So you guys had a tipping point with your guys' businesses. Now, this is more of an in-depth question where if you are motivated, you have the mindset, you're ready to go, full passion, everything. I guess it's like, where do you really start? Like your business plan and your structure, like of your business is basically the question. Like, that's the knowledge. Where do you go from there? Or where'd you go from there?
Great question. So we could talk about credit.
There are so many resources, this being one of them, but in terms of legalizing the business, I would say, and picking out a name and, you know, what makes you different or what makes you stand out from your competition. I think that thought process or mind mapping is where you should go before you file the paperwork. Because again, this is legal documents, right? And there's names that you may or may not be able to use, and you might be so gung-ho about it. But knowing that there's room enough for all of us to eat, right? Because there's all kind of people in cosmetology, there's all kind of people in banking and finance and every industry, but you have a unique voice, you have a unique skill set, you have a unique passion, and that is what you want to convey, firstly, to yourself and put down in writing so that when it is time to file the paperwork, you know exactly where you're headed and who your client is, right? They say your target market, you know, who do you work best with or want to work best with? Because everybody is not your customer. Everybody is not. And I find that a lot of business owners make that mistake of thinking that, well, I'll just talk to everybody. That's not going to work. So you can niche it down, right? That way you can be very intentional about where you show up to market yourself, where you show up to get resources from, because when you're very clear, then everyone else is clear around you. Does that make sense? Okay, great.
I have a life by design, which is basically where I put everything in bullet points where I can go down the list. But basically, I guess it's more of like just knowing where to start with the resources and everything else. That's more my depth question, because I have everything, know the business name and everything, but it's just like, okay, am I doing this right or am I doing this wrong? But that's kind of like where I'm struggling with a little bit. If that makes sense.
Yeah, like the SBA is a great association to go to, the AAEA, Leslie's here, you know, just linking up with people who can help you with that paperwork process and help you get access to capital, which is not always a loan. Sometimes it's grants, sometimes it's crowdfunding. So there's various ways that you can jumpstart, but I would definitely say have a conversation with maybe even Leslie while he's here, and go from there. You're welcome.
Anything different to add?
I wanted to say that the Small Business Development Center is an incredible resource. They do take clients, and it's a free service. It's sponsored by the Small Business Administration. I think they have a table outside. They're one of the sponsors here. So I would hook up with them because they really have a ton of resource for you and a ton of knowledge, a ton of people to send you to that will help you through that process. And we do that at our office, but you don't have to pay for that. You can get that with a Small Business Development Center.
Good. Okay, another question? Scott's got somebody back there, and then we'll go to you. Go ahead.
So how were you able to, I guess, tackle your debt as well as work on being an entrepreneur? Like, which one did you focus on more?
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Okay. I really put my head down and started working because there was nothing else to do. So I started taking baby steps. And that's really, you can't expect to conquer something like that immediately. It actually took me many years to dig my way out of it. A lot of that debt got settled because it was during the recession and they were, you know, writing down mortgages and things like that. So I was fortunate to be able to overcome that. But it was stressful. It was difficult. I really had to find the resources to help myself through it. But meanwhile, I tried not to think about it. I mean, truly, my truck almost got repossessed many times trying to get that paid off. But I just kept my head down and had confidence in myself that I could work my way through it. And it was scary, but I did it anyway. That goes back to the fearless comment here, because it's so important to not give up. And again, I put my head down, I worked, I kept marching forward, and I couldn't see the end, but I did it anyway.
That's good. Good. Good one right here.
Along with obviously tackling debt, what is some advice you'd give somebody that's working on raising their credit score and stuff like that? Because obviously that's a very important part in starting a business. And me being a single mom, and like, you know, I don't have the best credit, but I'm trying to work on that. So what is some advice you would give to start, you know, upping that credit score?
Barry, you want to start with that one?
All right, credit score. We have friends out there called FICA, FUTA, and everybody else, but can someone tell me what does FICA stand for? Anybody? FICO, FICO score. You're close, and that's exactly what I used to say. But it's actually a guy named Isaac who created this thing, like back in 1989 when they started using it. And it's the Fair Isaac Company or Corporation. So thanks to Isaac, he's making this corporation's made things fair for people to get different lending, and that lending is fair, because lending didn't used to be fair. Sometimes you could go down to the bank and because of who you knew back in the day, long time ago, they would give you a loan, a secured line of credit, an unsecured line of credit. But today it's a lot different. So it's a fair playground, if you will. So to start building your credit, I would say, one, you go into the bank and open just a checking account. When you open a checking account, it starts a relationship with the bank. So you have a banker that you're talking to, someone that you're depositing money in, you're paying your bills. Go out and get your small credit card. People go, I don't like debt. I don't want a credit card. I want debt. There's good and bad debt. But a credit card is, you can't go to an airport. I'll date myself. I used to go to an airport when I get off a plane somewhere, and I go up and I rent a car and you pay cash. Well, they don't take cash anymore. You need a credit card, some type of debit card. And to buy a lot of things today, it requires some type of credit. So if you can get a credit card from go to somewhere, I don't want to endorse anybody, but there's a lot of places online where you can go and look and see who has a lowest interest rate and who will give you a credit card. And you apply for that, get the credit card. Don't use all the credit. Because if you have a credit card of $3,000 and you use $3,000 worth of credit, that's going to show that you have a debt to credit income ratio problem there, issue. So if you have a $3,000 credit card and you need to borrow $500, borrow $500. But when you borrow it, pay it back. And not only pay it back in full. That starts the discipline of being able to borrow credit and pay your credit back, and it develops your credit score. Some people say, well, I have a 500 credit score. Is that good? A 600 credit score? Well, about a 620 credit score will allow you to buy a house, but an 850 credit score will allow you to buy a house at a lower interest rate. And so it's all that credit score is about the interest rate. And so what can you purchase with that? That interest rate is phenomenal. When you go out to purchase a home, and your interest rate over 30 years is 8% versus someone whose interest rate over 30 years is 1.25, that's a lot of money. And I don't want to say 10,000, 20,000, but it's in the several thousands. So that's a big deal. So I hope I answered your question, not to be long-winded.
By saying pay it off, do you pay it all off at once, or do you, somebody told me you shouldn't say I go and buy something for $500 and that month I pay $500. Is that helping your credit score, or should you wait and pay it off in parts in a couple months, or that's what I'm...
Okay, I would say there's multiple ways to do that, but one of the ways is definitely if you borrow the credit money, pay it back all at once. If you cannot afford to do that, pay it back and add some more to it. Just don't be late. And if you have multiple credit cards, look at the card that has the least amount of payment, tackle that. Once you tackle that and you pay off that credit card debt, use that extra money that you were paying for that debt, apply it to the next credit card or whatever credit debt you have, pay that off. Someone would say, well, wouldn't it be more cost effective to pay off a higher interest card first? Well, typically a high interest card may carry a higher balance. So you want to tackle the small things first with a lower amount of balances, and then tackle the larger ones, and just keep adding to that next payment with the dollars that you have available. That way, when you get to the larger amount of debt with the high interest rate or what have you, you can apply all of that to that and pay that off. Having no debt is a good thing, but you do need credit. That's just the world we live in today.
Can I add something?
Yeah, I was going to. I got Mike.
So, like Barry was saying, your FICO score is a representation of your financial integrity. So we know what integrity is, right? Doing what you say. So if a lender has given you their money, right? So it's a loan that they've given you, a credit card that they've given it to you under the premise that you're going to pay them back and pay them on time. So when you go to pull up your credit, what is it, freecreditreport.com, you get that annual report every year for free. When you pull it up, there's a pie chart on there, and it lets you know what areas you need to work on in terms of getting your score up. So the two main biggest areas to get your score up the fastest is to pay every month on time. Every single item on there, your credit cards, your loans, 35% of your score is paying on time. That's the fastest way to get the score up. The next one is for credit utilization. So that's only related to your charge accounts or your credit cards, right? So like Barry was saying, if you have that $3,000 limit, 30% of the limit when that statement hits every month is what determines if your score is going up or down. Credit cards and charge accounts are revolving accounts. They expect these balances to move up and down every month. They're supposed to move. But whenever that snapshot is taken, which is on the statement date, you want your balance to reflect 30% of the limit or less. That's going to give you the maximum score for that particular card, but you get to maximize that for each card. Does that make sense? So you get to play around with what the balance is going to be, but at the best case scenario, you want it to be 30% or less when it hits that statement. Now that's 65% of your overall score is paying on time and keeping your utilization low. Does that make sense? The other part is not applying for a bunch of accounts, because every time they pull your social, you're gonna have that ding. So that can actually hurt you by 10. But you want to also have your accounts for as long as possible. They say that the average person has about 10 years of history per account. So if you think about some of the cards we might have got in college, it's like, I don't even go to that store anymore. I don't even like American Eagle or whatever. But if you close it out, now you're losing points because part of your score is the relationship that you have open. Does that make sense? So I'm just giving you some touch points, but when you go to pull your credit, that pie chart tells you what to tackle first, because it's gonna let you know 35% pay on time, 30% keep your utilization low. Don't be just applying for every application that you see, trying to seek out new credit, because if a lender isn't gonna say yes to you, you still have that inquiry on there for 2 years. And other creditors are like, well, why didn't they? I don't see an account for this inquiry, so what's going on? So just be careful with new credit. Make sure that it's something that you absolutely need and can manage, because like he was saying, if you're trying to build credit again, yeah, go ahead and apply. Maybe it's a secured card from your local bank, which you have to pay a deposit to get it. But then manage that thing the right way and you'll see the score go up.
Can I speak about an illustration? I wanted to share a little story with you. I know credit card debt can be overwhelming, and I think a lot of people have it because we're bombarded with advertising messages every day that encourage us to part with our money and go into debt to get whatever it is the advertiser is offering. So I see problems with credit cards quite frequently in my practice. In fact, recently, probably a few months ago, I had a client come and she was crying, and she said, she was a young person like you, and she said, I'm so embarrassed. I have $4,000 in credit card debt and I don't know what to do. I'm paying the minimums. It's not covering even the interest. I'll never be able to get out of this. She said, my credit score is about 500 something, really bad, and I just don't want to live like this anymore. So I said, okay, well, let's make a plan. So she did. She actually had this intention. You said that, intentionality a while ago. She had an intention to get out of debt. And her mindset was that she was intending to do anything she had to do to get rid of this debt. And so she made a plan to get out of debt. She looked at her wages, what can she do as side gigs to be able to make some money? And how could she get out of this? And she determined it would take over a year, probably like a year and a half, to be able to pay it off. And she started on her way, and she put her head down and she worked. And a few months later, she came back and she said, oh my God, I've paid off almost all of this debt, and my credit score went from in the 500s, and now I can't believe it. It's in the 700s. And it was because of her intention. When she changed her mindset from I can't do this to I can do this and started working toward her goal and putting all of her resources toward her goal, more came to help her and she started getting more money in and she's like, where did this come from? I'm going to put that all on my credit card. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. And it's not just her that can do that. You can too.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Okay, we'll get you next, right here.
I have two questions. I'm gonna run them together. Like start as a entrepreneurship, when you start in a business, is it like when dealing with people, is that a good idea, good step of like practicing dealing with people? Like if you're not used to dealing with people, being a people's person, is it a good start to help you grow your maturity and get your business started on the right foot?
Is he saying?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm hearing you saying about how to deal and communicate with individuals, kind of more so on a more professional and outgoing basis.
Yes. If you try to practice on being a great professional, a great business person, have a good review on your business, how you go about growing to like dealing with people on a positive, because you're gonna deal with all kind of people. So what kind of solution to keep yourself on a professional instead of veering out of that and staying when you try to stay into the concept of your business?
Okay, I would say one, here at the university, there are courses and classes on entrepreneurship, business management, that will probably lead you in the right direction for that. I would also say having a mentor. A lot of people have a mentor. I've been in business almost 17 years and I still have a mentor, someone who holds me accountable, someone who I can bounce things off of, someone who can tell me, okay, Barry, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is what's already out there. This is what I've experienced. Here's some different stories and there's different literature out there on, professionalism, dealing with people. There are classes that talks about, because some people say, I just don't like to stand up and talk in front of people. I think there's like, again, no endorsements, Toastmasters and other classes like that that you can participate in that will give you the skills and help you hone in the skills that you want to be more astute to. And that will help you with dealing with people, being able to speak with people, again, being fearless. We have these phobias, and sometimes the businesses that we're in a business that we deal with different people every day from all walks of life. Some people with thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions and multi-millions of dollars. And the very first time I talked to a millionaire, I didn't have $1 million at the time, but the first time I talked to a millionaire, I was speechless. I was like, I don't know what to say to this person, but I overcame that fear because that person was a human just like me. Right. They started a business or they worked for a business or a company and they saved their finances, invested their finances, and they knew what it was like to start and gain some investments in finances. So no one is that person that you can't talk to. You just have to be comfortable with yourself and knowing how to talk to them. And again, having a mentor, professional management, like I said, Leslie's here with the association, and there's businesses out there that will give you the know-how, the materials to overcome those fears and deal with individuals on a daily basis.
I'm glad I practice that every day then.
Okay.
Right. One last question. I'm sorry, we're going to run out of time. Do you have a question? Yeah. Okay. Scott will bring you. I'm sorry. They will be here for a few minutes afterwards, right? So if you have questions,
my
get a
question
chance.
the whole time. How do you keep yourself accountable for personal growth and business growth with like boosting productivity without causing burnout is what I was going to ask. Sorry.
Great. That's great. Well, not tackling too much at one time because our brain can only absorb so much change at once. But how I hold myself accountable is I tell people around me that I care about what I'm working on. So if I'm working on my diet, if I'm working on managing my calendar better, if I'm working on a financial goal, I'll say I need to have this amount by X date, and then I will share with them like how I'm doing. I always write my stuff down or put it in my phone so that I can track how I am doing. But to not keep it to yourself is holding yourself accountable, because if it's your mom, your dad, your sister, your friend, somebody is going to be like, hey, how are you doing with that paperwork that you were supposed to file? Or, you know, do you need any help with that? You know, how's it going? So I feel like if we keep it to ourselves, we could easily fail, because who's going to know, right? We let ourselves down a lot, to be honest. But when you know that your boyfriend is looking, your sister is looking, your mom is looking, somebody's over your shoulder kind of like, you say you were going to have it done by this week, you know, where are you? I feel like that's the easy way to just kind of say, I don't want to be the one that didn't do what I was supposed to do. So that's just how it works for me. I just tell a few people around me and they help me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
It's the same for me. I really count on my community. So I surround myself with people who are high performers, and they pull me up. And so it really matters who you're around. If you're around somebody that's going to pull you down, that's what's going to happen. You can't be the one person that's lifting everybody up. You have to hang out with people that are all lifting each other up. It's super important.
And just to add to what both they said is great. Again, process, write it down, hold yourself accountable, know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I say that to myself a lot. What am I doing and why am I doing it? What am I doing and why am I doing it? And it create a time management for yourself. Time management is critical. You can't do everything, you can't be everywhere, and you can't be everything to everybody. So, you know, you owe it to yourself to challenge yourself to do what you need to do for you first. And I've always said this to myself, and I tell people this about me. You get one shot at this. You get one shot at life. There are no comeback and do-overs, and somebody else may say something different. I believe you get one shot. This is it. So there's no, you know, in the next life I'll do this, or I wish I had done that, whatever. You get one shot at this. And you get to choose what you do with your life. No one else. You choose. There's people that's not going to believe in you. There's people that's not going to cheer for you. Cheer for yourself.
That's right.
Write it down. I used to put stickies on the refrigerator. I used to put stickies in the bathroom. People come to my house, man, what's all the stickies? Don't worry about it. I got a plan. I got something going on. Barry's crazy. No, I'm not. I know what I'm doing. I know where I'm going, and I know why I'm doing it. So hold yourself accountable. Even when no one else will, hold yourself accountable. But get you a good mentor. Get you a good circle of friends. Get you a good community. And you don't have to do it with hundreds of people and 20 people. Get yourself 1 or 2, 3 people that know you, depend on you, will inspire you, will pick you up when you get down, because that you'll hit the bottom and you'll want to quit. Just like I said, you'll want to quit. But don't quit, because those people who believe in you, when you get low, they will say, hey, remember you said you was going to do this? Let's figure it out. That's how you make it. That's how. No one has ever gotten, I don't care who tells you this, no one has ever gotten whatever they've gotten in life and achieved by themselves.
Okay, thank you.
That's good.
All right, let's give a hand for all of our panelists and Dr. Constance today. And Leslie, I think you have a job to do.
Well, we had some great questions. Thank you, panelists. Teresa did a great job. And you students for making the sacrifice to be here, the investment, your time to be here. I think we had, what, 5, 6 questions? Yeah. But I want you guys to know something, that the winner is the winner because that individual invested some time in in their journey, in their entrepreneurial journey, and they got to a point where they realized they needed help. And that's one of the biggest hurdles that entrepreneurs or any individual inspiring to start their own business is to get to that point where you're not afraid to ask questions or to get help or to seek help. So at this time, I'd like for us to all put our hands together for all of those that participated in the questions. Very good questions. And another thing I want you guys to remember, and I would be amiss if I didn't say this, but I want to thank Daytona State College because years ago I was where you were, okay? And my journey started here. Even though I'm involved and I am the founder and CEO of this organization, but I started right here at Daytona State College at a time when we were going through a recession. 2 years after I left here, I got accepted in the business school at University of Florida. 2 years after that, I went ahead and got my MBA in international business, but it started here, guys. So you guys can, you're at a place that you're exposed and your life trajectory can change just from being here as mine did. And another thing too, I want you guys to remember something, that whether you are working for your own company or you're working for another company, if you're working for another company, you're still considered an intrapreneur. If you're working for yourself, you're an entrepreneur. But that mindset is what separates you from the crowd. So I just want you to know that. So don't feel that, hey, you know, whatever profession you're in, I have stories at UF where nursing students decide to take an entrepreneur class at UF, and guess what? They're no longer a nurse, they have a multi-million-dollar business. So that's the thing about entrepreneurship and being willing to learn the principles about entrepreneurship. So at this time, I would like Brittany to come up. She's the winner. Congratulations, Brittany. Yes. I just want to thank you for the time and the energy that you put in thus far.
Thank you.
In your dream. And I just want you to know that before you leave, please come to my booth and I'll give you the proper documentation and information regarding this journey that you just ran yourself into.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Cheryl Weems to close us out. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We're not there yet. Thank you all for being here. You're phenomenal. And like Brittany, her questions were deep and penetrating. You could tell she was investing in herself. And the questions that you all were asking started that process for you as well. So I want to congratulate you all on the attentiveness that you've given this panel this morning. We're very blessed to have had this assembled wisdom. These are things that when my children were growing up, I could tell them some of these things that I heard today, but when I was growing up, no one told me that. So these are pearls of wisdom that Dr. Constance and Nancy and Barry were able to impart on you, and I do hope that you will take them as pearls of wisdom and use them to advance yourself. I want to say to you, those of you who are involved in the entrepreneurial mindset training, I know that you heard 8 principles. Tell me the 8 principles you heard in the conversations we had this morning. I heard them repeatedly. Tell me, call them out. What did you hear? What, accountability, what did you hear? Persistence, what did you hear? Opportunity, let me hear another one. Wealth, of course, what else? Mindset, but the mindset also you heard what? Brand. Community, of course. What else? There was 2 more I didn't hear yet. Action, of course, action. What was the last one of the principles that you're learning? What was the last one that we heard? In order to do all these things, you have to have what? You have to know something, right? There has to be some knowledge, right? So just remember those 8 principles that we're encouraging you to embrace in your entrepreneurial mindset have real transferable value. And you all are examples of having learned those lessons. So, congratulations to you. In your folder, there's some information there. I think Dr. Constance Craig Mason's references for your credit information. So the SBDC provided some resources for us. And right here on one of these sheets is where you can find and access some information in terms of your credit standing and your credit worthiness. And then on the back of this sheet, there are some references, additional reading material, if you're interested, that can be found in our Entrepreneurial Resource Center. So again, look through these materials, and if you're interested, they're available to you at your disposal. The other thing I want to share with you is that I hear a lot of energy out there in terms of seeding your own ideas and businesses. We have yet another component of our entrepreneurial mindset. Our entrepreneurial education and training experience at DSC. One is the mindset program. 2 are these events that we sponsor. 3 would be the curriculum that you're in, the mindset curriculum or the Design for Delight or whatever that is. 4th would be Falcon Talks. And the 5th would be the Entrepreneurial Resource Center. We're adding yet another component called is a student exchange program, and it will be the Innovation Quest Exchange, the IQ Exchange. And we're looking for students like you who are right there at the door. Like Brittany, you have a business, you want to get it to the next level, you're selling sneakers out the trunk of your car, and you want to figure out how to get it to the next level. You're designing t-shirts. You have an idea as to how to design t-shirts, but you're not quite sure how to get it to the door. So if you have a business mindset where you have something that you're trying to get to the door, or you're trying to get your idea out of the door, we invite you to join the Innovation Quest IQ Exchange. So go on to the entrepreneurial site in the info guide that you can find, a DSC info guide. Scroll down to the bottom, and if you're interested in joining the Innovation Quest group, then submit your name and you'll be able to work with entrepreneurs to help you launch those ideas to the next level, okay? The other thing that I want to share with you is that we have about 5 more seats left for this afternoon's Lunch and Learn with Dr. Constance. So if you're interested in attending, let us know before you leave, and hopefully we can get you to the Lunch and Learn and actually have lunch for you. So please keep that in mind as well. Thank you all for being here this morning. You've been great, a great audience and very patient. And I thank the panelists this morning. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. I thank our sponsors, SBDC and the African American Entrepreneur Association. So thank you all.